Hi, Andre, you'll tell me when we correct so that we can start the meeting.
Felix, I will do so. Morning, Chair. Good morning, Chair. Be correct. Shall I do a roll call?
Yes, please.
Ms. Mochikasi,
Good morning, Chair and members. I am present.
Mr. Mdluli?
Good morning, Chair and members. I'm present.
Mr. Chance?
Good morning, Andre. Hello, everybody.
Mr. Threen?
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, colleagues.
Dr. Kigaba?
Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, Chair.
Ms. Mente?
Good morning, colleagues.
Mr. Tambo?
Morning, everyone.
Chair, those are all the members on the platform. Some have joined us while I was verifying attendance. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you very much. If you can just share the agenda. Can we get the mover and seconder for the agenda? Honorable members, can we get the mover and the seconder?
Ms. Mochikatsu, Chair?
Yes, Ms. Mochikatsu.
I move for the adoption of the agenda.
Thank you very much. Seconders?
I second, Chair.
Thank you very much, Member Kigaba. Are there any apologies, Andre?
Chair, I've not received an apologies, but I think we have a standing apology for Mr. Langa, Chair. But I have not received any other apologies, Chair. The others may still join us on the platform. Thanks.
No, thank you very much. You are all welcome, colleagues from the department. I'm not sure who's there, who's leading the delegation from the department, Andre.
Chair, Dr. Masochi was leading the delegation from the department, Chair.
Okay. No, you're welcome, good doctor. And then welcome, Honorable Mente and other colleagues. A briefing by today, we are going to receive a briefing by Ms. Mente-Nkuna on the Liquor Amendment Bill 21 of 2025, as well as the input by the DTIC on the Liquor Amendment Bill B21 2025. So we are going to be receiving this briefing, and then it will be followed by the department. We also have other committee business that we're going to deal with today, including the process of scheduling the interview for the National Lotteries Commission's board chairperson, as well as to deal with the proposals for the study tour for the team. I will now allow Ms. Mente to present, and then this input will then be followed by the DTIC before we go for discussions. You have about an hour or so to present, madam. Thank you very much. Ms. Mente, over to you.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I just want proof of life that you are assured that you don't speak to a host. However, I will request that
recording in progress.
So not get disrupted. The villages have got a very poor connection. If I'm allowed, Chair.
Yes, you can switch off, madam. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Good morning to every colleague that is on the call, the department, and our office office staff. I am Dombuvuyo Veronica Mente from the Economic Freedom Fighters. We have proposed this bill in our first term in Parliament between 2014 and 19. However, due to lack of information and other things that impeded on us, it then rose with the Parliament, that first Parliament of the EFF, and however we reactivated the bill. So the bill is not new. It's been on the process throughout. It has gone through the processes of NETLEC and other stakeholders that have been contacted and some that have contributed. Some have written to Parliament. And on behalf of EFF, we would like to thank the Portfolio Committee for giving us this opportunity that we present this bill and give guidance on what is influencing it and how did it come about. So this bill emanates from our serious concerns about the problem of alcohol consumption and its attendant dangers to individuals and society. We all know the detrimental effects of alcohol to our society. We have seen how theaters get disrupted and their schedules have to be changed around due to accidents that enter hospital, and those accidents emanate from drunken driving on our roads. We have seen all the social ills that have befelled our children and the youth, especially due to alcohol. We have seen how enyobeni has affected our children. And if ever alcohol was not exposed in the manner in which it is through adverts, it wouldn't have been a case, because adverts are the ones that are encouraging young people in the main and society at large to be engaging in alcohol and all sorts of types of alcohol. An example would be that if you are not engaging in alcohol as a member of society and you kind of sip on whatever drink that you are given and it doesn't go down well with your bloodstream, and you just vow that you will never drink alcohol, but you arrive at home, you see an advert of another flavor and another type of alcohol, and you try it, it works well with you, and you are in. And that's how the adverts work, and that's how the adverts have so much influence on making many people to drink different types of alcohol. So central to the proliferation of alcohol abuse is a controlled public narrative seeking to present alcohol consumption as the cool thing to do amongst young people in the main, whose intent and effect in the wooing of more people into alcohol consumption. So on annual basis, Chair, alcohol is responsible for more than 2.6 million deaths, accounting for 4.7% of all deaths is the alcohol, and 0.6 million deaths to psychoactive drug use. Notable, 2 million of alcohol and 0.4 million of drug attributable deaths were among men. This is the statistics by the World Health Organization, latest 2025. Overall, approximately 62,300 adults die annually from alcohol attributable causes in South Africa, with 60% of deaths occurring in people in the low-income groups. And this is as a result of people who are trying to have a life, and they are trying to find ways to entertain themselves, irrespective of how low their salaries are. It's spent senselessly and it's spent selfishly on deaths of alcohol. The mortality and morbidity impact of alcohol use in South Africa, as in other countries, is concentrated among people from lower socioeconomic status groups. The alcohol attributable mortality rate among the lowest income groups is between 4 and times the alcohol attributable mortality rate among the youngest income groups. So why are we proposing this liquor amendment bill? Is that because consumption of alcohol also leads to a myriad of other social and economic problems. These include spikes in violent conduct, increase in sexual crimes, diversions of resources meant for livelihoods into alcohol. I've already mentioned how theaters get disrupted due to alcohol accidents. The bill is, however, not just about how much South Africans drink on average and the attendant health effects thereof, but rather to deal with alcohol advertisement, how it contributes in normalizing harmful patterns of alcohol consumption and recruiting new alcohol consumers by glamorizing alcohol through adverts. It is also to interrogate that glamorization and aspirational tone of most advertising as it continues to lure new alcohol drinking markets. This has a tangible impact on the health, on the finances, on social relationships of consumers and society at large. The impact of consumption of alcohol to our society. There is consensus among global health experts that alcohol marketing has a major effect on positive attitudes, perceptions, and expectations towards consumption. It impacts the initiation of drinking, the desire to try, choice of consumption, and societal attitudes towards alcohol consumption. The 2010 World Health Organization Global Strategy to Reduce Harmful Use of Alcohol recommends 10 evidence-based policy options at the national level. The 3 most cost-effective interventions to reduce alcohol consumption and its impact, and controlling alcohol availability, regulating alcohol marketing, and implementing pricing policies. These interventions should complement each other. For marketing control, the World Health Organization recommends that the most effective approach is to enforce legal measures that regulate both the content and volume of marketing activities. This includes regulating direct and indirect marketing across all channels, prohibiting sponsorship activities, promoting alcoholic beverages, restricting or banning alcohol promotion and events involving children in the main and adolescents, and controlling emerging alcohol marketing techniques such as social media communications. And you would see how also the influencers have been promoting different kinds of alcohol, which that variety of alcohol at the end of the day lures, especially young people, the youth, into drinking alcohol because they see people who they look up to, they look so cool, there's nothing wrong. However, these adverts will not be depicting anyone who's affected by alcohol. You'll never see a Pooza face on TV. You will never see a child who has challenges in life due to a parent who was consuming alcohol by the time they were pregnant. The World Health Organization is of the view that restrictions in alcohol advertisement can reduce overall marketing exposure among children and adolescents, potentially preventing early alcohol initiation and reducing alcohol cravings amongst those with addiction. Importantly, this could counteract the alcohol industry's influence in normalizing or creating positive social values related to alcohol consumption behavior, which has widespread negative impacts on public health, the economy, and society. So the bill itself is looking at all these challenges that I have presented above. And in light of those, we have decided to introduce some amendments to the Liquor Act 59 of 2003 in order to restrict alcohol advertisement in line with the recommendations of the World Health Organization mentioned above. The Liquor Amendment Bill 2025 seeks to place restrictions on the advertising, promotion, and or product placement of liquor. So there's 3 areas: the advertising, the promotion, and product placement of liquor in all forms of media, to prohibit the use of manufacturer's name or any brand element to promote liquor or the consumption of liquor, to prohibit the organizing and promoting of liquor or making of financial contribution to an organized event by a registered person or a company that owns liquor or the manufacturer of liquor, and to provide for matters connected therewith. So we will see already in some of the events, there would be sponsorship, and that sponsorship will come from a company that makes alcohol in order for that event to promote that particular drink. And that particular drink, therefore, will have billboards, placards, everything around, and that particular alcohol will be displayed all over the event with an intent that they get more sales, they get more people changing from their choice one to their preferred choice, which is the drink that will be promoted, giving it for free so that people can taste it and see if it works well with their bloodstream and that it doesn't have any kind of reaction. So those kinds of things are all part of the advertising that we should ban, and the amendment seeks to deal with that as well. The bill introduces 4 definitions into the Act and substantive amendments to Section 9 of the Act. The definitions are as follows. The bill introducing the following definition into an Act: a brand element. In relation to a brand of liquor means that a brand name, a trademark, trade name, distinguishing appearance, logo graphics, design, slogan, symbol, motto, selling message, print, typeface, recognizable color or pattern of colors, or any other symbol of product identification or association that is likely to be associated with that brand or liquor and is designed to promote consumption of that brand liquor. This introduction is important to cover almost all avenues that alcohol manufacturers and wholesalers may use. Then term number 2 is organized activity. Organized activity means an activity or an event wherein there is more than one person that they gather for whatever means. Once there is a sort of a gathering, then that's an organized activity. That organized activity which a member of the public may attend or participate in, which is organized for the purpose of entertainment, like I've already illustrated. It could be sport, it could be a recreational activity, it could be an educational or cultural purpose, where liquor, a brand element or company name which is usually associated with liquor, or a brand element is used in the name or description or advertising of the activity of the event to promote liquor consumption. So we would all understand, Chair, or maybe remember when tobacco banning of advertisement was done, we used to have what was called Rothman's Cup. And the Rothman's Cup in itself was promoting Rothman's as a product to be smoked. So once the cup is already in action, the people know and they now remember there is something called Rothman's Cup. So even with liquor, you will have your Carling Black Label Cup and this and that and that. All those that are part of this organized activity that are even by name defined by a brand of alcohol, or the alcohol is what drives the sponsorship and all of that. It excludes any activity or event arranged by a registered person where the only attendees are shareholders, partners, stakeholders, employees, existing business clientele upon the direct and specific invitation, suppliers or service providers, spouses or partners of any of the persons in the sub-paragraphs. So a meeting of themselves alone as shareholders is not part of it, but an organized activity. However, this also it should be defined clearly, and it should be explained clearly that we cannot gather here under Trade and Industry Committee and call ourselves, no, we are colleague dealing with matters of parliament, therefore we are not part and parcel of an organized activity. We are organized as a committee. Therefore, we cannot promote any type of liquor. We can't brand the tables with liquor branding or names. We cannot use it to promote it. So there is these types of organized activity for strategy, for whatever, but there are organized activity where people, more than 1 or 2 people, are gathered together, but the activity is sponsored in such a way that it has to promote alcohol. The third term that comes about is the product placement. This means the depiction of or reference to liquor or a brand element in a broadcast program, in a film, in a video recording, in a telecast, social media, or other electronic medium for which the producer of or any other person associated with the broadcast or program, the film, the video, the recording, or the telecast, social media, or other electronic mediums receive consideration in cash, kind, or otherwise. That goes also with promotion, unless the context indicates otherwise, means any activity that supports the sale of liquor or that encourages the use of liquor. So the example I made earlier on of us gathering as a committee and then we place strategically a certain brand of liquor on our tables and we are on TV, we're on camera, we say, no, it doesn't mean anything. It's an event or it's an NDA party of the Parliament Committee. But if we are strategically placing that particular product for other members of Parliament to see how we enjoyed that particular product in the intention of luring the others to join in and use the same product in their NDA function. That is product placement. Therefore, it should be banned and it should be not used. The most substantive amendment to this section is the addition of Section 9, subsection 3 and subsection 4 to the Act, which reads as follows. A person may not, A, use advertisement as defined in the Liquor Products Act of 1989, Act number 60 of 1989, read with necessary amendment to promote liquor or the consumption of liquor or cause a person to use advertisement for such purposes. B, promote or effect product placement or cause a person to use promotion or product placement to promote liquor or the consumption of liquor. Or C, use a manufacturer's name or any brand element through direct or indirect means to promote liquor or the consumption of liquor. Subsection 4A, a registered person may not organize. This means now a registered person, the owner, the company, or whatever manufacturer of alcohol, may not organize or promote any organized activity that is to take place in whole or in part in the Republic. Make financial contribution to any organized activity that is to take place or is taking place or has taken place in the whole or in part in the Republic. This is critically important legislative intervention aimed at addressing a very serious problem of the deleterious effects of alcohol in our country, as we all know how the detrimental effects of the alcohol have affected our people. The additions of additional definitional elements seek to tighten the reach of the bill, to extend the restrictions on alcohol advertisement to every aspect of public display of alcohol products. The amendments, additions to Section 9 of the Principal Act are self-explanatory, as I've read in the previous slide, and the intention is to prohibit alcohol advertisement. The ultimate goal at the end is to arrest the growing abuse of alcohol consumption and initiation of young people into alcohol. Chair, I think I must illustrate here. We have seen how pens down have turned out to be alcohol events, especially for young people that are writing matric. Me and you, we wrote matric. We never engaged in alcohol because, one, we didn't have TVs. Our TVs were not flooded with alcohol advertisement, though those that had access to TVs. We had radios, but we seldomly had or seen alcohol advertisement. Social media was not there. Now, social media in the main is what influences young people to get into alcohol, because celebrities that our children look up to, that they want to look like, that they want to reach their level of life, they advertise alcohol. Every activity they are engaged in has alcohol elements in it. Therefore, the abuse of alcohol is not in the main by choice, but by influence of society, especially social media, where you see alcohol every second minute you open your social media, every second advert is a different brand of alcohol. Hence, there is this growing abuse of alcohol, and children as young as 12 years old will be engaging in alcohol, even though it's written no access to under 18. We have seen how the children that are far less than 18 years old have died in Enyobeni, and you ask yourself, how did they get there? If they hadn't been lured and influenced by how glamorous it is to be drunk, how glamorous it is, how cool you are to be intoxicated, how cool you are to be drinking a certain drink, how cool you are if you afford a certain type of alcohol, it means you are you have topped the life, and therefore you are grooving with certain category of people. So the ultimate goal is that we need to really address the growing abuse of alcohol and the consumption, especially the initiation of young people to be drinking alcohol. The last part, Chair, is that we have seen the statistics in terms of gender-based violence, and we have seen how alcohol contributes in the main, and majority of cases are due to alcohol abuse. You have visited, especially us as members of parliament that does constituency work, we have gone to several police stations where FCSs are sitting with cases where young women are withdrawing those type of cases, indicating that, no, my partner was drunk, is no longer drunk, and therefore I have to withdraw the case due to the mistake he made and all of that. However, the following weekend, the story repeats itself. A member of society is sitting in a police station with young children looking for shelter because the husband is beating them up. It can be other way around. It could be that a mother is also doing the same thing, but in majority, there are husbands that are abusing children. We have children that grow up with traumas because they have seen how their mothers are beaten by fathers who are drunk on a daily basis. And this is because we have normalized drinking alcohol in our society. We do not have any means to control it. However, even though we have the laws that says drinking in public is prohibited, that on its own is because we do not arrest people enough that are drinking in public and promoting, because you leave an event where you were drinking in an event, you are allowed to do it there, then you still have to come into the road. You drive on the roads with people that are not drunk. You get into your family and you are there abusing your wife and your children. They end up at a police station. Police use the resources that are very limited to make sure that this family is secured, is protected, open a case, do this thing, and then the following Monday, the mother at court withdraws. So it has an impact on our society in the social ills, in economy, and most importantly, with the economy, if ever we allow the advertisement of alcohol to go on like this and not banned and not policed, we are going to have a society that we cannot protect, because the economy that we need to grow, it needs the people to work, the industries in the economy. If there are no people to work, they are all dead in accident, they are all sick in hospital because of alcohol influence and alcohol abuse. There will be no proper physical fit people to go into the working industries. Therefore, Chairperson, I will rest my case there and thank you, the committee again, and everyone on the call for listening to us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Can we now have the presentation, Dr. Masoja?
Thank you, Chairperson. Good morning, Chair. Good morning, honorable members. Good morning, Honorable Mente-Nkuna. I'm with the team from the DTIC. I'm with Ms. Priya Ramdani, who is the Chief Director responsible for National Liquor Authority, the DTIC, which is an internal regulator in the department. I'm also with Ms. Clementine Magaibia, who is a Director for Liquor Policy and Law. And my other colleagues in the platform is Tsulufelo Mushi, Saroj Naidu, and good morning to all the parliamentary officials and to all other members or stakeholders from the public. Because Ms. Mente has already spoken to the bill, the B1 2025 Liquor Amendment Bill, I will not go into the details that she has already presented. We, as a department, we included the content of the bill in our slides for recording it and for indicating that we have went into it and we have reviewed it and noting its substance and provisions. So we are here to provide an input on the Liquor Amendment Bill B21 2025 that was introduced into Parliament on the 8th of September by Ms. Mente-Nkuna. The Liquor Amendment Bill that was introduced is linked to our legislation, the Liquor Act of 2003. The DTIC regulates liquor in terms of the Act, and we regulate macro manufacturing and distribution of liquor. And the objects of the Liquor Act of 2003 include to reduce the socioeconomic harms associated with liquor abuse, to promote the development of a responsible and sustainable
Sorry to interrupt, Dr. Masocha, but your slides are not syncing with your presentation. Could you maybe start the slide presentation from the beginning?
Okay, can you see the slide 3?
No, we're looking at conclusion and way forward at the moment.
Okay. Apologies about that. Thank you so much, Honorable Chance, for that. Let me see how to organize my slides here. Apologies about that.
That's better, thank you.
Okay, so you can see the first, the covering page.
We can see the cover page, yes.
Okay. Let me start from where I was. Okay. I'm on slide number 3. Can I get an indication that you can see it?
I can, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Honorable Member Chance. So I was talking to the objects of the Act, the Liquor Act, in terms of what the Act of 2003 provides for, which includes reducing the socioeconomic harms associated with liquor abuse, as well as to promote the development of a responsible and sustainable liquor industry in a manner that facilitates transformation in the liquor industry. The reason why we thought we should highlight this is because we recognize the Liquor Amendment Bill that was introduced recently in terms of the intention it is aiming to achieve to deal with the ills, social ills affecting young people, minors, and vulnerable communities that Ms. Mente-Nkuna was talking to. We wanted to just indicate that these are the principles and the policy imperatives that are in the 2003 Act in terms of looking at ensuring that there's a responsible and sustainable liquor industry that promotes safety for society and reduces harm. So it's a very important policy rationale that we also support and promote as a department. The section that is critical in this amendment bill is Section 9, that deals with the issues of advertising and sale restrictions. Section 9, subsection 1 prohibits a person from advertising liquor or methylated spirit in a false or misleading manner and in a manner intended to target and attract minors, or any substance that is prohibited in terms of the Liquor Act. So this is a core section that speaks to the amendments of the bill that has been introduced into Parliament. I'm going to not talk too much into the areas that Ms. Mente-Nkuna has already addressed, but I will just repeat some of the things that she highlighted in terms of the substance of the bill. So the amendment bill, the private members bill, aims to amend the Liquor Act of 2003 because it intends to insert certain definitions and to prohibit the advertising, promotion, or product placement of liquor in all forms of media. It prohibits the use of a manufacturer's name or any brand element to promote liquor or the consumption of liquor. It prohibits the organizing, promotion of, or making of a financial contribution to an organized event by a registered person and other matters thereto, such as the transitional arrangements. Ms. Mente-Nkuna spoke to the substance of the bill, so I will skip the slides that talks to the content of the bill and come to the input by the DTIC in terms of our response to the amendment bill. We will start with a background of where we come from as a department on issues of liquor regulation. In 2016, after following extensive research studies, we reviewed the Liquor Act, and it resulted in the Liquor Amendment Bill of 2016. The aim of the bill was to address and reduce the socio-economic harms associated with liquor abuse, and it provided for wider participation and transformation in the liquor industry. The bill was published for comment after it was approved by Cabinet, and there were substantive comments received. We had consultations with the public, with provinces, government departments, industry associations, civil society, other regulators, and industry role players. So there was an extensive process the department underwent to consult widely during that time. The bill was also tabled at NETLEC in 2017. And it was quite an extensive, rigorous process there as well. And ultimately, it went to Cabinet Committee in February of 2018. And when the bill went to Cabinet Committee, the intention was to introduce it to Parliament. However, when it went to committee, there were some issues that they raised. They included the manner in which there was certain uncertainty around how it was certified, its pre-certification. The department was requested to look into that. And also there was a request, because there were debates about the rationale around the bill, especially issues around the age restrictions for the supply and sale of liquor. There were legal opinions requested for the department to look into, and so an independent legal opinion was also discussed, and as an input to the department, especially on the issue of purchasing age. Then, because of at the time in 2018, there were several legislation the department was processing. They included the National Credit Amendment Act, the Copyright Amendment Bill, and the Performance Protection Amendment Bill. So there was the National Gambling Amendment Bill. So there were several bills that were that were going to be prioritized, and that some were already ongoing. So because of the timing of that time, there was a view that the bill be placed in abeyance with the intention of introducing it in the coming administration. So it was put on hold because of the parliamentary program at the time. It was going to come back in the next administration. So coming to the specific core issue of today, the department wants to highlight that in that amendment bill of 2016, there were provisions that dealt with the restriction of advertising. And there were amendments on advertising. Section 9 was amended to include more restriction on advertising. Inter alia, the advertising of liquor or methylated spirits must not be likely to appeal to persons under the age of 21. So one of the provisions was that the issue of appealing to young persons was highlighted in the bill, that it must not appeal to persons under the age of 21. And that there mustn't be situations where there's a feature in a significant role, anyone who appears to be under the age of 21. So, for example, in an advert or some kind of public profiling where you see a significant role by someone related to advertising of liquor by someone who is underaged. And there were certain prohibitions in terms of platforms, social platforms such as your billboards, where there were restrictions on billboards placed less than 100 meters. There mustn't be, there must not be such considerations where you've got billboards that are less than 100 meters away from an education institution, an intersection, a street corner, or a traffic circle, where there will be more exposure to young persons. Also, restrictions on radio and television outside of such time or period as may be prescribed by the minister. So there was consideration that at certain times there shouldn't be adverts related to advertising of liquor. So there were going to be regulations around that in terms of how the times, the hours, and so on can be managed. That the advertisements must reflect the harmful effects of liquor abuse. And also that the minister may, after consultation with the council, which is the Liquor Policy Council, that is a statutory structure in the Liquor Act, relevant government departments, municipalities may prescribe more advertising restrictions. So the bill allowed for more restrictions should the need allow, or should there be a need for that. And in the same bill, there were more provisions that address other issues around access to liquor, protection of minors. So the published bill was broader, and the other provisions included the prohibition on the sale or supply of liquor or methylated spirits to persons under the age of 21 years. So the age was increased in terms of access to liquor from 18 to 21, which was a very significant amendment. The BBBE requirements in terms of certainty on the conditions of the BBBE, and then the designation and of inspectors in terms of the empowering provisions for inspectorate for enforcement purposes. And there were provisions related to civil liability in terms of responsibilities for those who are in the industry in terms of ensuring responsible supply, responsible sale of liquor to vulnerable persons, including minors, also registrants of liquor. So in the next slides, we will be analyzing our now looking at what we have been doing as a department, the role of the department in the economy, plus the proposed bill. We'll be sharing our perspective on the bill in terms of what we think about it and the way forward. So what we've noted, especially with the transitional provisions, is that the prohibition that are being proposed will not have a retrospective effect and therefore will not impact on existing advertising agreements in force, which is a notable point in terms of those who already have agreements. Should there be this ban or prohibition, they will not be affected because they will be having existing agreements. So we noted that point. The proposed ban or prohibition, in our view, is likely to disadvantage and discourage new entrants into the industry. The liquor industry has a socio-economic implication in a sense that there are those societal harm that we all have seen and the concerns around them, but it is also an industry that also contributes in the economy. So those who may be having intentions to be new entrants, like small businesses or other role players, may, with this approach of a complete ban, they may be affected. There may be unintended consequences for them because it might discourage them for entering the market. And also, our view is that established players already benefit from strong brand recognition. So there are these brands that are well known and are recognized. So they may not necessarily need further advertisements, like a new entrant in the market. So they may have more benefit because they are already known, and they may only require advertisement when they launch a new product or new products, but they are already established, so they have an advantage. And also, tying to the point about advertising, when you are an emerging business or smaller businesses or new businesses, marketing, advertising, brand awareness is very critical. So they may not be able to compete effectively. So in our opinion, outright prohibition may result in unintended consequences of entrenching the market power of existing registrants, thereby contradicting the objectives of the BBBE Act and to some extent the principle of fair competition under the Competition Act, because then they may not be able to participate effectively in the market. The Private Members Bill focuses primarily on Section 9 of the Liquor Act. And our opinion is that the focus is very narrow because it's focusing on one aspect. It's an important aspect. And we are of the view, because of its singularity, it will not adequately address societal harms caused by liquor. It will have some implications. It will have an impact, but it's one measure. And so we think that it's a limited approach. And we also think it may have unintended consequences because industry currently contributes towards big sporting events in the country, even through sponsorships. We are not saying whether we are for that or not. We're just indicating the actual situation now in the market. There are issues of sponsorships, there are issues of big sporting events. So there may be a need for consultations around those and covering of risks and other issues. So an outright ban might have other implications around those arrangements. And we also think that the prohibition of the manufacturer's name of any brand element may also have unintended consequences for the market. We don't know yet what those are, but we think there might be. So that is also something that requires further maybe consideration. And we think that with the prohibition or ban, complete ban, there might be a correlation between the illicit liquor trade and impact on consumers. So illicit liquor trade might be affected by when these advertisements are not there. It might also have an implication for the illicit trade market. So it's another area that we think might have unintended consequences that may need to be looked at. We noted Ms. Mente's view around the advertising of tobacco, so I won't talk to that point. She covered it very well in terms of how the advertising of tobacco had an impact and how it was dealt with. So I won't go into that one in detail. We are of the opinion that although the bill is well-intentioned, it can benefit. We can have a more a holistic approach to harms caused by liquor for communities. And furthermore, we noted that it does not cover penalty provisions. So, for example, what happens when those sections that are amended are not adhered to? There should be penalties, there should be contravention provisions. So it will rely on the current Act of 2003. So that area, we also noted it for input. And also that the bill was not accompanied by a socioeconomic impact assessment. And we appreciate the fact that it's a private member's bill. It may have different considerations and requirements, but we have found that this area is very important when it comes to legislative reviews, developments, and so to be informed for evidence-based policymaking, and that there should be research providing empirical evidence to support any amendment. We also noted, and this is just from our side, for just to look at, we noted that the liquor that is in subsection 9, section 9, subsection 1, is completely removed. So the bill removes liquor and focuses on the prohibition of methylated spirits. So it's something from a drafting perspective. It just for alignment, the way it reads now, it may not mean the prohibition of or banning of liquor as intended. It may actually be removing liquor and from the legislation. So the mere removal of any liquor in Section 9 does not prohibit advertising of liquor. It means then the advertising of liquor from that perspective will be unregulated. And if it's unregulated, if you look at subsection 3 and 4, which are core, there is a misalignment then between them, because then one section removes it completely from the legislation and then the other one talks to it. So this we just thought we should note. It's just for noting, just in case these are areas that can be considered further. Yeah, so I'll move to the next slide in terms of our conclusion and way forward on the bill. So the DTIC policy proposals from the 2016 bill were drawn from extensive research and data, and it included issues also tabled at the Interministerial Committee that was chaired by the Department of Social Development at that time. And between 2016 and 2018, when we went to Cabinet Committee, there were lots of extensive consultations, and there were proposals, including from NETLEC, proposals that were included for further consideration. So there were extensive engagements on that bill. And currently, we have a National Liquor Policy Council in the previous slide. It consists of ministers and MECs in 9 provinces who are responsible for liquor regulation. We convened these meetings this year in July and in October. And one of the direction that came from those meetings is that we need to resuscitate and strengthen the regulation of liquor and amend the bill, taking into account changes that have occurred in the market, in the economy, societal challenges of liquor abuse and societal harm reduction, and so on, illicit trade and many others. We need to look into the legislation, or including e-commerce. We need to look into the legislation, take all those issues and start working on reviewing it, taking into account where we are now as a country. And this effort by MECs and the council and the minister should be taken as a process that acknowledges that there is a serious challenge on liquor in society, and there's an intention to work around that to improve the regulation around liquor. And also, we as a department have been engaging with other stakeholders to try to see where we are and where we can move forward. The department believes that cumulatively, restriction of advertising and other measures might assist in reducing harms associated with liquor abuse. So we do note the importance of the advertising of liquor. We note the intention behind the proposed prohibition or banning of liquor advertising. But we also think that there are other measures that needs to be taken into consideration to assist in reducing harms associated with liquor abuse, and also regulating effective enforcement and other important aspects of the liquor market, over and above the harmful effects, but to regulate it effectively. We are currently reviewing the Liquor Amendment Bill of 2016, and we are currently in consultations with stakeholders and engaging on areas of improvements. And we note the work that has been done in the current bill that was introduced, but from the departmental side, we are of the view that the outright prohibition on alcohol advertising is not supported. We do not support the outright prohibition. We promote the holistic approach to the legislative review so that it has got more impact when we look at other measures in the liquor regulation. And it is recommended that the committee notes the DTIC's input into the private members' bill, Liquor Amendment Bill B21 2025, introduced by Ms. Mente-Nkuna. Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Chair.
Hi, good morning, members. Chair's just having a problem with connectivity. It will be on the platform soon.
Apologies. Apologies, colleagues. I was just trying to unmute. Can we now have the input from members, and then from there we'll guide the meeting? And you'll assist me with hands.
Correct. Mr. Thring, Chair. Mr. Chance.
Mr. Thring, Mr. Chance.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, allow me also just to keep my video off, just of challenges. I also have some other meetings that where I am that are also connected. But firstly, Chair, let me appreciate the input of this private members bill from the Honourable Mente. In the view, I think, of the ACDP, it is certainly a step in the right direction. There can be no argument against the fact that alcohol abuse in South Africa, and in fact globally, causes huge socio-economic harms within societies, and in general also within communities and the economy. I think that the impact of alcohol abuse is underscored in the sense that it detracts from economic growth when you have individuals who are under the influence of alcohol attend the economic sector, whether it's in a factory, whether it's a school, whether it is within the workplace, and that negatively impacts on production and outcomes. So I think the impact of alcohol in general on the economy is huge. When one looks at also the loss of lives and the mortality rate and morbidity rate in terms of the effect of alcohol, that as well has a huge effect on the economy. The loss of a key individual in whether it's private or public sector as a result of alcohol abuse, and whether that individual was the one abusing the alcohol or the one affected through an accident by a drunken driver, for example, or somebody wielding a weapon. The loss of that particular individual also to the economy, I think is something that also needs to be taken into consideration. We've seen from the department that the private members bill, though, may have some unintended consequences. I think in the view of the ACDP, we view this bill as a step in the right direction, and perhaps what the department ought to be doing is assisting the Honourable Mente to fine-tune the private members bill if necessary, so that we, at the end of the day, have a private members bill that indeed is going to look at reducing the scourge of alcohol abuse within South Africa. You know, some of the interventions that was mentioned, one of them, I think it was within the alcohol bill that was to be introduced to Parliament. My question was, it was to be introduced within the new administration. We are now almost 2 years into the new administration, and it still hasn't been introduced. So the question is, why has it not been introduced? I've noticed also that when it comes to advertising, that it recommends that advertisements, for example, their way of curbing the influence of advertisements is that they should not be placed within 100 meters from education institutions. That's insufficient. It's wholly, completely insufficient, because all they need to do is place it 101 meters away from the establishment, and they comply with legislation. It should not even be anywhere close to an educational institution or even key intersections. So, Chair, I think in essence, the ACDP in principle supports this initiative as a step in the right direction, and we urge the department to rather work with the Honourable Mentor in fine-tuning this piece of this private member's bill, so that indeed we can actually see a reduction in the harmful effects of alcohol in our communities. The department also needs to understand, when you're working within the communities, particularly within our townships, you see the abuse of alcohol, increasing the age reduction to 21 is meaningless where there is no enforcement, and this is a problem. You have children as young as 10, 11, 12 visiting shebeens, whether themselves for themselves, for consumption for themselves, or going to go and purchase for their parents or for other adults. And so enforcement is a part of the problem, but we think also that the advertisement and the prohibitions that are being placed on advertisement is certainly a step in the right direction. Thank you, Chair.
Member Chance, and then you'll be followed by Member Musikadzi.
Thank you, Chair, and may I thank Honourable Menti for her presentation, and also to Dr. Masocha for her presentation. I think the DA, first of all, does not believe that a ban on advertising of alcohol is the right approach. We broadly are in agreement with the approach presented by Dr. Masocha, in the sense that we believe that there is room for tighter regulations. I have a question which essentially is to ask, why has it taken since 2018 for the department to pick this bill up again? Mr. Thring mentioned 2 years. It's actually been 7 years, as I understand it. It seems to me that there's a considerable need for taking this bill through the committee and having another look at it. I'm talking about the department's bill. Obviously, it's up to Ms. Menti and the department to see if they can find a middle ground. It's not for me to say whether they can or they cannot, but obviously whether they can or cannot will determine the future of this bill. I'm not sure, Chair, whether we will be deliberating on its desirability today. Probably not. We'll need to take some more time to go through it in detail and also look at the proposals that we've seen from the department. But I don't think there's any doubt that this committee must apply its mind to this matter. In fact, there is a considerable link between alcohol abuse and abuse of gambling. We have discussed this before. And the responsible use of alcohol and the responsible use of gambling are two issues which need close attention. And the types of counseling services and rehabilitation services that are available to addicts of any sort is something that this committee needs to take cognizance of in connecting to the health department and other stakeholders, because clearly we have a society which is stressed, where the resorting to addictive behavior is commonplace, and particularly amongst vulnerable people, including youth. And this committee then has a responsibility to take these matters seriously and to regulate as appropriate. So yeah, thank you, and I'm sure that we'll be picking this up again soon.
Member Musikazi.
Thank you, Chairperson. Let me also welcome and appreciate the presentation of the private members' bill from Honorable Mente. Chairperson, I think some of my questions has already been asked, but I just want to check with the department because, the honorable member said that it's a long time that we are already in Parliament and the bill was never presented to us. I just want to check from the department, what is there that is in place that they are using to ensure that all this marketing industry and people that are supplying and the sale of liquor is prohibited from selling to children, and also adhere to the legislation that is in place. Is there any tool that they use to ensure, because the bill was not yet presented before us? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Are there further hands from members?
No further hands from members, Chair.
Maybe let me allow Honorable Mente to comment as well as the Dr. Masosha, and then I'll come into on the conclusion.
I had a hand, Chair. I'm not sure if it's been noted.
We didn't see it. You can come in before the two colleagues.
No, thank you very much.
Member Tambo.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I hope I'm audible. I'm on the road. Firstly, I think we should thank the Honorable Mente for the presentation. And I think overwhelmingly, when we contrast the presentation made by Member Mente and the presentation by the DTIC, the unintended consequences which are cited are far more minimal when compared to what the Honorable Mente is presenting as the societal harm that is caused by alcohol advertisements. And I think we should think about it in that vein. And I want us to firstly move away from the language of prohibition, because if we wanted to talk prohibition, we would have spoken in much harsher terms around banning alcohol and certain strict regulations, which would much more impactfully harm industry. And that is not what we're saying. We're saying that the promotion of alcohol in our communities, particularly in areas where there's schools, the promotion of alcohol in recreational activities, sports, is causing a societal harm that far outweighs any unintended consequence that can be cited by the department. And I think I agree with the Honorable Thring in that instead of trying to shut down the private members' bill due to unintended consequences, let's see how we can assist to ensure that we fine-tune it and achieve something that is going to rescue our society from something that we all know is causing so much harm and is being promoted as a lifestyle habit, like something that is being promoted as something that should be part and parcel of everything we do in our lives, whether it's for children in sports, whether it's for recreational activities, whether it's for our public holidays. Everything we do in South African society is underpinned by the participation of alcohol, and it is being advertised consistently in our faces. But another thing that we must take note of is that the advertisement of alcohol also has as a type of apartheid spatial planning operation. It's not advertised prominently in areas where people are affluent. It's advertised prominently where our people are the poorest of the poor. And that's another logic that we should be able to look into, that outside of market unintended consequences or consequences thereof, we should look into the psychology of the marketing of alcohol in South African society as well. It is targeted to specific communities, which are Black people in particular, and the poorest of the poor, to keep them in a cycle of dependency on alcohol, promoting it as a lifestyle habit, whereas it causes so much damage. If we look at statistics related to crime, gender-based violence, alcohol is ordinarily at the center of that as well. So I think we should welcome the bill. We should make inputs that seek to enhance how we implement it to ensure that we protect society from this. And we should think about this in the same vein that we think about the conversation we're having about gambling as well. It's one in the same thing. It's destructive habits which are being promoted in our society. And as members of the portfolio of trade, industry, and competition, it's our duty to protect South African people and consumers from destructive marketing. And alcohol is destructively marketed in South African society. There's no justification that I've heard that is convincing that opposes this bill. So as the EFF, naturally, we support it. Let's make inputs that enhance it rather than seek to prioritize markets over people and the social fabric of our country. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much.
Ms. Slaza Webster, Chair, and I don't know if I saw Mr. Gama's hand, Chair.
Okay, I will allow the two members to come in.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you very much to Honourable Mente for her presentation on the private members' bill. I think I almost didn't contribute because, I mean, I agree with all the colleagues. There's no question about the harmful effects of alcohol in our communities, in our societies. There's absolutely no question. And I think I want to support some of the contributions from the colleagues that we look at how to strengthen, we look at how the bill can be refined, which has been introduced by Honourable Mente, particularly because it takes into consideration the public health element, which had not been sufficiently done before, in my own view. And so I think that that's going to be important. What I did want to register as we consider how to move forward, I did want to register concerns that the DTIC has had this or its own version of the Liquor Amendment Bill since 2016. And that we sit now, it's 9 years later, it hasn't been finalized, it hasn't been introduced, and this would seem to signal that alcohol harm isn't truly a priority because it's taken this long. And so I think that is a very, very real concern. At the same time, it would be important to hear what their timelines are looking like now that there's a revival. Even in all the consideration that we're having, is there adequate planning around what the timing and timeframes of this will look like, given that we're talking about 9 years, so that as we consider whether it's an integration or a collaboration of sorts, so that there isn't a parallel process, the concern that will be sitting at the back of our minds is how long this has taken and whether it truly is a priority and whether there is the will, political will or otherwise, to make sure that it does go through. So that really would be what I would want to raise and something that's of a concern and a consideration as we consider and deliberate how to move forward. Thank you, Chair.
Yes, Member Gama.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good morning to everyone, and thank you very much to Honourable Mente for introducing this bill. I think it's a step in the right direction, especially I think because we live in an alien capitalist culture that prioritizes money over fostering Ubuntu, and it's got crass materialism. And I think our South African society is dominated culturally and spiritually by a minority group with an alien culture to our African cultural and moral values, because we seem to want to just adopt Western ways. Our children are affected by this alcohol. There is appalling crime. There are issues like high rates of teenage pregnancies and all other types of issues that our society faces. And I think to the extent that we can find things that could contribute to a decrease of the moral deterioration that we face in our country, we should find a middle ground. I did not hear the Honorable Mente to be saying we must prohibit advertising, but I think to the extent that we could get together, the DTI and this private members bill, and find a middle ground that ensures that we could move forward, because as I say and look at things, a lot of this advertising, I think, as Honorable Tambo has also mentioned, is skewed in the areas where there's actually social degradation. And what it does is it perpetuates a system, that would want to say to us, we must just accept our apparent defeat since 1652, where our people remain marginalized and the moral values of society do not improve. So I think we need to look very strongly at how we can integrate some of these issues away from always emphasizing on capital. We need to make sure that there is moral suasion, and we begin to look at things in a manner and way in which we can benefit the whole of society. Thank you very much.
Chair?
Yes.
We have the parliamentary legal advisor, Ms. Halley, who would like to comment, Chair, if she's not.
Yes, Ms. Halley, if you can start.
Good morning, Chairperson. I just wanted to respond to three legal issues that was raised by the department. These pertain to drafting issues. I was the legal advisor who assisted Honourable Mente with the drafting of the liquor bill. The first question the first issue that the department raised was that there was no impact assessment done. This is not a requirement for a private members bill. The second issue that was raised was that there was, by the removal of the word liquor under section 9(1) and 2, the bill now does not regulate liquor. This is incorrect. If you read the entire section 9, if you read the entire section, you will notice that there's a section 3 now that deals specifically with the regulation of liquor. So the removal of the term liquor in section 9(1) and 2 was a drafting requirement, because now you're dealing with liquor under the new section 3. The third issue was that the Act does not provide for, the amendment does not provide for offences. That is equally incorrect, because if you look at section 34(1)(a), and to be specific, 34(1)(a) deals with offences under section 9, and we are now amending section 9 to include section 9(3). So if there is an offence regarding the advertisement of liquor, that will fall under section 34. Thank you, Honourable Chair. Thank you, Honourable Members.
Thank you very much. Can we then have a comment from Honourable Mente and then Dr. Masoji?
Thank you very much, Chair. And thank you to the colleagues for the support. And it seems everyone agrees. And first and foremost, I just want to address that. We are open to working with the department in fine-tuning some of these things, but there's a particular worry and a concern which I think members have already raised, that I indicated in the beginning that we introduced this bill in our first term as members of parliament, as EFF, between 2014 and 2019, precisely was 2018. And that's 2 years after 2016. We invited inputs and everything. The department did not come forth, and they didn't show interest at the time to work with us on this particular bill. We hope that that has changed, and also maybe they will answer as to why they've been quiet for far this long. So we don't want to believe that, true to the nature of government in South Africa, that they will just reject anything simply because it is proposed by opposition. And we really don't want to believe that, because what other justification there would be that today we are told of a bill that was tabled, have gone through the processes, but is not in front of Parliament? And that is a big question as to why. So it should not be used and weaponized to reject progressive bills that seeks to take our people's lives and uplift the spirits of our people, especially assisting how our economy is doing currently. In addressing a few things, Chair, and thank you, Ms. Haley, for the intervention. But I just want to also highlight that there is a high level. I think in the beginning and during my introduction, there are percentages that are highlighted there, which seeks to demonstrate some level of empirical evidence that's available. And we've got a memorandum as well that we have submitted. If you can look even on the articles that were written by different media houses, during the time we introduced, we actually revived the bill. They used the memorandum to expand on the reasons why this bill is a need currently in South Africa. And we know how the consumption of alcohol. But most importantly, Chair, is that we are clear. At this point, we are not addressing how many liters and milliliters or what of consumption. We are addressing the advertising, the promotion of alcohol, the making it cool, the influence that other people who are influential are promoting alcohol so that other people can drink that alcohol. Also, in addressing what seems to be unintended consequences, it's shocking that a department will be saying we are waiting for new entries into the alcohol industry. With all the available data, you might have not read our memo, and I do not believe in my heart of heart that the department does not have empirical evidence of the harm and the detrimental effects that alcohol have in our society. And that on its own should have informed them that you can't promote the new entries altogether of alcohol. At this point, we're not talking stop drinking, we're talking stop promoting it. And that's where we are. We're not at stop drinking, but to also have a department which advocates for new entries of something that we know is destructive to society. There must be new entries of people making alcohol to come and destroy our society. It's shocking. And I think, Chair, the committee will have to look into it, because it's similar to what we are dealing with at this point of gambling. We can't be saying, no, there should be new entrants of gambling, that gambling will be less impactful to society. Gambling is gambling. Promotion of alcohol, we can't promote it so that there should not be any new entry of anyone who wants to make business of alcohol, because it's destructive to society. And whatever economy will be receiving from the existence of those manufacturers or shops or organizing and whatever, far outweighs the societal ills and the societal impact alcohol has. We can have one company tomorrow entering the market in terms of liquor, and then we can have 100 people dying daily from consuming the alcohol of that particular company. Are you going to say, no, it's not because it is promoted, or that we must allow another one? No, we cannot. We can't be a society that promotes alcohol, and we can't be a government that promotes existence of people who are manufacturing poison, because alcohol is poison. You must look at morbidities in this country and look at how many people that are in hospitals who are on the waiting list because theaters are always swamped with accidents. So that on its own for me is it's very disingenuous of the department to promote that as an unintended consequence. It could be something else, but that we are going to have to look into it, Chair, and I want to implore the members of the committee to look at it that way, because we do not know what would be the impact of any new entries in the market that are manufacturing, and now we must not stop the banning of advertisement because we must test how many people can die out of alcohol. There's another thing is the illicit. The issue of illicit trade, that also has nothing to do with the banning of advertisement, because that has everything to do with the security sector. We tighten our security sector in terms of monitoring, in terms of arresting people, in terms of making sure that whatever enters the market is legit. That has nothing to do with us, but it has everything to do with us in terms of ensuring that security sector does what it has to do. So that can be an unintended consequence, that there would be illicit. That means we do agree that crime in South Africa will always be there and there's no way to curb it, because that's criminal. And we can't sit here as members of parliament and promote crime, that there would be illicit. Illicit must know that you won't even have a chance to do it, simply because you know it can't be advertised. Therefore, the illicit should not have a chance to even be active in our economy. The other areas we can fine-tune with the department as far as the penalties, as far as the sanctions that could be utilized in terms of this bill and when it goes to the law. But the socio-economic impact assessment is there for everyone to see. I just want to say the last thing, Chair, that, you know, public health impact of alcohol, the premature deaths every year in South Africa. This is evidence. It's available. 62,000 people die prematurely due to alcohol. The fetal alcohol syndrome is the highest recorded rates in South Africa. And in terms of consumption, it is scary. As, like I said, children as young as 12, they are consuming. No one teaches them. You are going to find them in the most remote rural areas where there is no much exposure to TV and all of that, simply because everyone nowadays, they have a gadget. They are now exposed to social media. Every time they open social media, there's an advert of alcohol, which depicts the people they love the most, and they become victims of alcohol. The latest statistics of teenage pregnancy, which in the main was in the Eastern Cape, those that do constituency work would know, if you go right now, Parliament has an ongoing process about teenage pregnancy and how the police have explained to Parliament why the perpetrators have never been apprehended due to impregnating children that are less than 16 years old, because that's statutory rape, is because those children themselves do not know the fathers. This was an activity in a gathering, in a shebeen, where they went and they were intoxicated by people much older than them. They wake up in areas that they don't know. They wake up being raped They go home, they still don't know they are pregnant. They find out much, much later when nothing could be done. They give birth in our hospitals. The hospitals try to find out what can they do. Social workers try to find out what they can do. In most cases, those children do not know who are the parents. And this also has impact on our budget, because now we must get additional children to take care of as a state and take care of a baby who has a baby. Both psychologically, then there should be a social worker assigned to them through the traumas to ensure that this baby who's carrying a baby and who's mothering a baby does not harm this baby, under realization that you are actually a child that was born out of me willing to have you. So we are now spending more on areas where we are not supposed to. Why? Because children see alcohol as cool. Who teaches them this? Adverts. So that is not an unintended consequence. Adverts have all the influence. Adverts are the reason why people are drinking so much. Adverts are the ones that are now today teachers, when they confiscate alcohol from children in classes, those children fight back. Children come to school and they drink in the premises of school. Their parents don't drink. Who teaches them alcohol? Adverts. So we need to look into a broader picture of how advertising has a detrimental effect on our young people and our society, and is contributing on parents not taking care of their children because they carelessly spend money on alcohol and not care in the world what will be the well-being of their children in the near future. Our police stations are full of people every weekend that are in accidents, that have beaten, have stabbed each other, shot each other under the influence of alcohol. And in most cases, it's people who want to be there because alcohol activity has been made to be cool. So if you don't engage in alcohol, you don't go into these spaces where people are consuming alcohol and engaging in this activity, therefore you are regarded as a not so cool person. Therefore you find yourself in those spaces, even if you are not having an intention to drink, you are going to end up drinking because you see so and so was drinking a certain whiskey, and then this whiskey never makes you so much drunk, doesn't give you a hangover, therefore you can try this one.
Honorable Mente, you must now wrap up. We've given you enough time, and you've made the point.
Thank you very much, Chair. The last thing is the billboards. You're driving, you see the billboards that tell you you believe you can fly, and you think you are under stress, and you see an alcohol advertisement that if you drink this particular drink, your stress will go away. It won't go away, but you will just be deepening a crisis of your stress, of your social ill, of even the economic contribution that you could be making, because tomorrow you may be dead due to an accident and killed other people that are in the working industry because you were drunk. Thank you very much, Chair, for the opportunity once again.
Thank you very much, Dr. Masocha.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Thank you, Honorable Mente-Nkuna, for the feedback you've given the department. We've noted it. From our side, we respect and we appreciate the work that you have done on the bill, and we are available to engage with yourself and your team on the bill. We are available to support and to engage further. To answer you about what might have happened in when the EFF introduced the bill previously, I may need to go back to check with the colleagues around that issue. I don't have a response. I have never been aware of that at the time, and it's something that we can look at the records and we can write back to the chairperson to give you feedback on that. I would say it would not have been the intention not to speak to such an important matter that that was brought forward as a private member's bill at the time, and even now, this is the points that are being raised, the harm that are being discussed. We are aware of their significance, and we're not saying this is not important. We know it is. The department is a national department that is responsible for all parties in society, and that includes all role players. And we note the importance of ensuring protection of vulnerable communities, vulnerable persons. It is very disturbing indeed that young children are exposed to these substances and alcohol, and we are equally concerned. And on the point about what happened with our responses previously, we will do an undertaking to check what could have happened at the time, but it would not have been the intention, I would say, to ignore such an important issue. So just for noting. On the question that honorable members have asked, starting from Honorable Sring, about what has happened to the bill from 2016, and also from Honorable Hlazo, I would and other honorable members I may not be mentioning around that. Just to clarify, what happened to the bill since 2018. So yes, there was an intention and a plan to reintroduce the bill, to take it to cabinet, into parliament in the next administration. That was from mid-2019. And so when we were 2020-21, there was COVID-19. And I'm saying this because that time, if we can remember, during COVID, that's when we saw with the shutdowns, restrictions, different levels of trying to manage the pandemic, we saw the relationship very, very vividly of alcohol and the points that Ms. Mente was mentioning about hospitalization, violent crime, and gender-based violence. Around that time, we realized the situation was bigger than what we thought. We looked at the provisions in the bill to say how much will they speak to the crisis we saw. There was also elements of crime. So whenever there was a complete shutdown of no alcohol is being sold because of the impact of hospitalization, we saw there would be robberies in some of the vendors or retailers and so on. We realized this was very big in society. Then with the minister at the time, the consideration was that maybe we need to work together with other government departments. We then came to a process called a government coordinated approach. So what it meant was that we started consulting other departments to check what measures they had in place to address liquor abuse in society. Because what we realized was that as much as we had the liquor amendment bill, it was not enough with the issues around the increasing age limit, the civil liability provisions, even the restrictions on advertising. Because of that situation and the lack, and we looked at the magnitude of the problem and our bill, the thinking was that we needed more engagement with other departments. Then there was that coordinated approach, and it culminated into a cabinet memo that was tabled by the minister then, and this memo recommended, the cabinet memo had other departments' measures on alcohol abuse. There was an undertaking in the memo to say there should be a process of ministers who are dealing with issues of liquor abuse to look at how to move forward with a potential legislation that integrates the different issues around liquor abuse, because we realized the problem could not be resolved by one bill with the few measures that it had in place. And so that cabinet memo was only finalized in 2023 November. And so it had to be rolled out, but then we were moving towards another administration in 2024. So because of that, we then, with the priorities and other challenges and other things that needed to be dealt with, it then moved into into this administration. And in this administration, we did engage on it with it as a department, and we looked at the review of the bill and taking into account those recommendations from Cabinet to look at the review of the bill and bringing in other stakeholders involved in this legislation, including the National Liquor Policy Council. So there was that undertaking of trying to find a bigger solution with a bigger impact. And the Liquor Amendment Bill was amongst the measures that were put in that Cabinet memo to say, this is our interventions, and then other departments were also added in that process because we realized this needed a bigger pool of solutions, not just for the DTIC. So that's where the gap was between 2016, then 2018 when we went to Cabinet Committee, and then where we are now. So we are reviewing that legislation. And to speak to the question about the timelines, I would request through Chair that the department reverts on that specific input in writing to just share with the committee some of the work we are doing and the time frames that we will need to consult with ourselves and other stakeholders like our council, the provinces. But we can come back fairly shortly with proposed timelines. So today, apologies, I won't be able to give the timelines, but it's something that we can share with the chairperson and the honorable members very shortly after our engagements internally. Honorable Thring, you are right about the amendments, whether what we had in advertising was sufficient, even the 100 meters from the schools. And your point about someone can use 101 meters, you are right. We are reviewing the issues around advertising. In 2018, 2019, 20, there were certain refinements that were internal. So, for example, we realized that social media platforms are more active. So there is a need to also strengthen around access to social media adverts for liquor. So we recognize that what we published in 2016 was not enough. So what we share today is what was published in 2016. So in the bill itself, and from 2016 to now, so much has happened in society, including the exposure of very young children, 12 years old, 10-year-olds, to issues of liquor. So we recognize the magnitude of the problem, and we acknowledge it, that is something that we have to move very fast about. So I think we've noted the concerns by the honorable members and the comments about the societal harm. We've noted all of that, and also the views around our presentation of the unintended consequences. Those were not said to not to recognize the significance of the problem, but we were trying to be balanced in our approach to say we look at various role players in the economy, in society. So we recognize the concerns that Ms. Mente has mentioned, and also the other honorable members around weighing the unintended consequences and challenges of society. We do note that. And maybe lastly, from the points made by Ms. Haley, I think we could have engagements as officials on some of the areas that you've highlighted. I did say in my presentation, the SAYAS is not a requirement. So we were just saying what we saw. The way we read the provision, when you look at the way the drafting is, so we were saying it may have those implications. So if you are saying it's not like that, we note that, but maybe it's something that may be looked at. We can also look at it jointly as officials serving the same government and the same country to assist each other in some of these things. So we note your input. We were not raising it as a criticism, but just our observations to share what we are seeing, because we are here to assist each other, and we are here to contribute to the discussions. On the penalties, I did say the ones we have are from 2003. So there might be a need to strengthen them to align to the new proposed amendments. So it was not to say they are not there, but we thought that there is that element of there might be a need to update the legislation as well. We were in the process of also updating penalties and other contraventions when we were looking at the amendment bill. We acknowledge that between 2003 and 2025, a lot has happened. So there's a need for those refinements. But we are available to work together, to consult and to engage. Chairperson, we will respond in writing to some of the areas I've highlighted from your permission. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to the members. In terms of the processes, moving forward, so we, as a committee, we have afforded Ms. Mente the opportunity to brief us on the proposed liquor bill amendment bill. This was obviously followed by the input that was been made by the Department of the DTIC on the liquor amendment bill, as well as the deliberation by the members on the bill itself. And members have expressed themselves in terms of the outlook. In terms of the National Assembly rules, after due deliberation, the committee must consider a motion of desirability on the subject of the bill, and if rejected, must immediately table the bill and its report to the House. Therefore, given the fact that we received the input from Ms. Mente and the department today, I want to propose that the committee afford political parties opportunity to discuss the proposal further by consulting their respective caucuses. This will give members an opportunity to engage further on merit of the bill before consideration of the motion of desirability. A meeting will be scheduled in due course where a motion of desirability will be considered. That's how I would like to conclude this point, and maybe allow members to comment, and then so that we can conclude. Are there any hands on the proposal? Members?
Chair.
Yes, yes, Ms. Mutsugatsu.
Yes, thank you, Chairperson. I just want to say that I think we should follow the proposal from the Chairperson, therefore I support it.
Thank you very much. Any seconders?
Mr. Kigaba, Dr. Kigaba, Chair.
Dr. Kigaba?
Chair, thank you very much. I want to second Honorable Msikati. I think your proposal does take us forward on the matter.
Thank you very much. The proposal has been seconded. I will now request the members to be released. I think we'll proceed with from the DTIC, and we will then proceed with the two other items that are before us of the meeting. If you can facilitate that, Andre, for the next 2 minutes, then we proceed.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Out.
Chair, the DTIC as well as Ms. Mente has left the platform, Chair. Shall we proceed or do we hold?
Okay, Andre, can you introduce the next item if all only portfolio committee members are here, so that we can proceed?
Chair, thank you, Chair. Chair, the next item is committee business, Chair. We specifically want to deal with the process regarding the interviews with respect to the chairperson of the National Lotteries Commission Board. Chair, just to give you an update, Chair, we've engaged yesterday with the Security Services Agency, Chair. We have not yet received any confirmation of the security clearances, Chair. So to date, we have nothing to report on that, Chair. Hence, just to alert members that they took a decision on I think in October, that they will only proceed with interviews once the security clearances as well as the education qualification verification has been completed. That was a decision that the committee took. Just to inform the committee that the Act does not require the committee to await the completion of those two processes. But as we indicated, the committee took the decisions. Now, the question before the committee is whether the committee wants to stick with their decision or rescind their decision and to proceed with interviews, notwithstanding that we do not have the security clearances as at 11:27 on Wednesday the 26th. So the committee chair needs to either reconsider the decision if they wish to do so, or we have to reschedule the interviews till next year, Chair, because we only have next week to complete any interviews if we do proceed with interviews, Chair. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Members, we took a decision to await, and we've been waiting for 3-4 weeks. Nothing much has moved, and we are left with only next week to deal with this matter. So can we hear your proposal and suggestions so that we can move together? Whether to rescind and proceed or whether to wait. I think that's more or less. Honorable Member Tring?
Chair, no, I'm just expressing my concern with regards to what appears to be a dragging out of a process that should be able to be fast-tracked. I had to go for a particular clearance, and I went to the police station, and I know that there are two kinds of clearances that you can get. There's one that will take like 2 weeks, and there's another which can be a little bit more lengthy. But I can't understand why it's taking close on to a month to actually get a clearance. Secondly, the vetting also in terms of educational qualifications is important. We've had instances where individuals unfortunately present qualifications that are not truthful. And so I think that both processes, security as well as educational qualifications vetting, are important for the process to actually go forward. Now, you go forward with the process and you don't have these two key factors being concluded, it can actually compromise the entire process. I'm actually concerned, Chair, that it's actually taking this long when it shouldn't. I know that there's a decision that you're looking for, but in terms of whether to, I suppose my recommendation would be that we actually wait and we actually ask the relevant officials, authorities, to really jack up and ensure that this gets concluded as quickly as possible. Thank you, Chair.
Honourable Chance.
Thanks, Chair. I share Honourable Thring's concerns. It doesn't seem to me plausible that they should take so long with these security clearances. But having said that, we only have 5 candidates now that one has withdrawn. And I think that if we were to postpone it, we'd probably be looking at February unless the committee were to return early. And bearing in mind that we have our study tour at the end of January, it probably means that we wouldn't be able to do this until February, which essentially is delaying the process by over 2 months. So my inclination is that we should rescind and proceed.
Thank you very much. There are 2 suggestions on the table. Can we have other colleagues intervening so that we can... This was our decision. As colleagues says, the law does not prohibit us from proceeding. We do need to move a step forward what we could perhaps agree to cover, Member Tring, is that we could run the process, deliberate and not make a decision until we have those, because I think that will be a different thing altogether. So make a decision at the point when we have received those two important vettings.
Chair, just to clarify, Chair, if just to in terms of the date, Chair, we will in the next item, because Mr. Chance raised the issue of January, that we are proposing an alternative time for the study tour, Chair, that will not take place end of January, but at a later stage, Chair. So just that members are aware of the possible change to that, Chair. Thanks.
No problem. Can we have...
sorry, if I could just quickly make the comment on your point that
yes.
We only need the day in person for interviews. The deliberations can be virtual.
Yes.
Correct, yeah.
Okay. That's correct. Can we move for one of the suggestions that are on the table? One says from... Yes.
Chair, sorry, if I may. Look, understanding the dilemma that we're kind of facing, maybe if I could, just wanted to check whether the possibility of continuing with the interviews, but letting the interviewees also understand that whatever the outcome, the outcome would be subject to. So subject to the receiving of those security clearances and the vetting of educational qualifications. So I think that would, if the process is to go ahead and we have that subject to, it would then cover us.
No problem. Then I think we are together. So we are rescinding our decision. We will proceed subject to, and we'll state that as a starting point for our panel, subject to the two verifications being done by SSA and other relevant authorities. Thank you very much. Can we then move? And then, Andre, logistically, what were the plans? What are the dates of the physical meeting? Was the meeting has to be physical?
Correct, Chair. We are scheduled 2nd of December, and we're also in our communication with the shortlisted candidates indicated that 2nd of December will be a possibility once the committee make a decision. So we will, at the end of today's meeting, communicate with all the shortlisted candidates and make the necessary arrangements for them to attend in Parliament. So we will confirm the venue as well, Chair, later this afternoon.
Thank you very much. I think that's clear, colleagues. May I request that we try to be present as majority of us, so that the process is fair and inclusive of all parties that are represented in Parliament. Thank you very much. So the date is the 2nd of September. Logistics are going to be shared with us on time.
December, Chair.
December, Chair.
December, sorry. What did I say?
September.
So apologies. I'm thinking about my birthday, I'm sure, somewhere in September. Okay, so the 2nd of December, it sounds like my birthday, because my birthday is the 2nd of September. So that's why my mind just slipped. Thank you very much. Can we go to the next item?
Thank you, Chair. The next item is we distributed yesterday the concept document for the study tour, Chair. If you allow us to take members through that, the committee needs to take a decision which countries we need to visit so that we can start the process of communicating with the identified countries and make the necessary arrangements in that regard, Chair. Chair, in the concept document, we propose alternative date, given the fact that we have not, as a committee.
Andre, can you maybe just before you proceed, where did you share it? We didn't see it. I didn't see it personally, so that we can go through. Or you're going to flight?
We will flight it, Chair, but it was on the WhatsApp group and I emailed it as well, Chair.
Okay, you can proceed.
Yeah. Chair, Margot will share, Chair, and she will take the committee through the document, Chair. The committee needs to take a decision whether we visit two countries or one country and which country we visit. And there's also an alternative date for the study tour, Chair. And if Margot can flight it and take us through that, through you, Chair. Thanks.
Good morning, members. I'm not going to take you through point 1 of the concept document because that is just a broad explanation of why we're doing this type of activity. I'll start from 2.1. I think it's also important that the committee agrees to the purpose of the study tour, as that will be the foundation of any application or right to engaging with countries, that we are clear on and are in agreement with what it is that we're asking them to assist us with. So the main purpose of the study tour is to engage countries on the industrial development policies, because of our concerns of the need to grow the manufacturing base, and to create jobs, as well as our focus on industrialization and localization. So that's just the history of our industrial policy. So I think just the main areas would be here, these points. So we've now raised these 2, 4, 6 areas of interest, and members are obviously free to add to this or to amend these. So the first one would be to look at the country's industrial development and localization policies and how these have been implemented to facilitate job creation, as well as to support and promote investment in the manufacturing sector. The second is the use of policies to facilitate deep industrialization across and within sectors, to facilitate the global competitiveness of the manufacturing sector. The state's role in driving industrialization and how it provides financial support to industries and to domestic and foreign direct investors, including the types of financing mechanisms that they use to facilitate investment. Then mechanisms to assist investors, such as one-stop shops, and mechanisms to integrate the rural economy into the mainstream economy, and the development of the green economy, given its growing importance in light of climate change, as well as the implementation, management, and ownership of special economic zones where applicable. Chi, can we just get some input on this before we proceed? If that's okay with you?
Yes, Maro, are you done?
I know, no, Chair, I would like just to, if we can stop at this point, just to get inputs from members, just to make sure that we are in agreement of what the purpose of the study tour is.
Members, do you have any other input? Members seems to be okay. They're showing us the hands. You can proceed.
Okay, Chair. So as part of the concept document, we looked at the following countries: Japan, Malaysia, Singapore, and Vietnam. The first country, Japan. So currently there is obviously quite a lot of, there's a collaborative relationship between Japan and South Africa as well in terms of industrialization amongst other areas. So Japan is the 3rd largest economy in the world after the US and China. Its economic model is driven by a capitalist and free market economy system. It's also more mature and industrialized nation with a highly skilled base of industrial leaders and technicians, and a well-educated and industrious workforce and high savings and investment rates. And so it is also highly efficient and competitive in areas linked to international trade. But then in areas of agriculture, distribution, services, it was lagging. Japan's not necessarily a natural resource rich country. So therefore, trade is quite critical for it to get its raw materials. Okay, so then Japan's industrialization policies are characterized by strong state-guided partnership with the business sector that shapes not just industries, but the future trajectory of the Japanese economy. And the policies are framed by the government, but then the private sector plays a very strong role in implementing and executing those. So one of the issues is that they're quite a close-knit partnership between government and business. And then government would typically create, they would channel subsidies, tax breaks, and research and development funding towards companies in order for them to deliver on these strategies. So then I've just put the business groups that are there. So they have regular meetings with government to ensure that these policies are being incorporated. And then another key feature is the emphasis on expanding into overseas markets as part of the government country's broader industrialization and growth strategy. In terms of economic security and diversification, the country is currently also seeking to reduce its dependence on traditional markets and diversification. So over the past 5 years, they've established and restructured several of the agencies to bolster industrialization policies and focus on technological innovation, economic security, and sustainable development. So then I've just listed some of the areas that have been restructured. So then the focus areas for Japan would be green growth and decarbonization. So they're currently advancing a carbon capture and storage program through the Green Transformation Strategy. So this is to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050. So the policies in relation to this would be the long-term roadmap, as well as the Carbon Capture and Storage Business Act, and support for these types of projects. So this also focuses on cost reduction and public participation programs to achieve these goals. There's also a robust legislative framework to foster a business environment for this type of commercialization. So areas where it's busy implementing this is in automotive and electricity or energy sectors to achieve green growth and decarbonization. There's also investment in hydrogen fuel cell vehicles and research in that regard, hybrid and electric vehicle lines, as well as battery production. And there's some work with South Africa in terms of hydrogen, in terms of our own strategy as well. So then in terms of energy, they position themselves as a pioneer in hydrogen energy, and also investing in R&D for hydrogen co-firing in power plants. They're also, so we've mentioned the green hydrogen ammonia that we're busy with. Then the next area would be in semiconductor and supply chain resilience. The current policies are highly interconnected. They're reflecting a strategic approach to bolster the domestic capabilities and international partnerships. The country is investing significantly to revitalize its semiconductor industry, to reduce reliance on foreign suppliers and enhance technological sovereignty. So to achieve this, it's looking at large-scale government investment plans and collaborations with private companies to produce next-generation chips and to ensure that there's a stable supply of these for the applications. Then they also acquiring companies to ensure that there's access to essential semiconductor materials and funding research and development to drive the development of those types of semiconductors. Then in terms of its resilience, it's been emphasizing diversification, and it's been working with India on R&D collaborations, and also to promote talent development and to secure alternative sources for critical materials. So this is to strengthen its semiconductor industry and ensure its resilience. And then the next area would be on Society 5.0 and digital transformation. They're working towards a super smart society, and the policy framework pushes companies to apply AI, robotics and big data, cloud computing, and 5G connectivity across all the sectors, and also seeks to integrate cyber and physical spaces to enhance quality of life while creating sustainable economic growth. These tools provide advanced solutions across multiple sectors, including healthcare, manufacturing, transportation, and AI-managed traffic systems, as well as public services. Then in terms of the circular economy and waste to industry policies, there's work being done to address waste management and linking this to industrial policy. So there's efforts by the private sector to develop recycling businesses to ensure that there's recovery and processing of recyclable resources from scrap and appliances, as well as battery reuse. Investment incentives. So Japan is focused on attracting foreign investment by combining policy support, institutional mechanisms, and targeted economic initiatives to appeal to global investors. At a policy level, they provide financial incentives, including tax reductions, tax credits for research and development, subsidies for technological innovation, and special depreciation allowances for capital investment in priority sectors. They've also streamlined the regulatory frameworks to make it easier for foreign companies to establish and operate in Japan. One of the central pillars is the Japan External Trade Organization, which operates a one-stop resource, which offers market research, legal guidance, business matchmaking, and administrative support, and helps companies to navigate its business environment. Local governments also offer region-specific incentives, including land grants, tax breaks, and infrastructure support, particularly in the industrial hubs and innovation clusters. Then they also push national industrial priorities when there's investment opportunities, and they seek to integrate their policy or have their priorities integrated into these types of projects that are being developed. So in addition to incentives and institutional support, they offer a stable political environment, strong protection of intellectual property, world-class infrastructure, and highly skilled workforce for a reliable investment climate, as well as offering of the location in Asia to have companies integrate into regional supply chains and markets. This is just what they combine: financial incentives, institutional guidance, strategic sector alignment, and a stable business environment to pursue foreign investment. Then I'm not necessarily going to go through the proposed meetings. In terms of Malaysia is an upper middle income country with a population of approximately 54 million people. It's trade oriented and placed in Southeast Asia. Its main hubs are in terms of global supply chains, particularly in semiconductors, electronics, and energy. And yes, let's just skip that. So it's a federal constitutional monarchy with stable governance and a track record of pro-investment policies. It's also an active member of ASEAN and the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership and the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement of Trans-Pacific Partnerships. So despite regional competition from Vietnam and Thailand, Malaysia differentiates itself with deep supply chain integration, established electronics and energy clusters, and a skilled workforce. However, it has challenges including talent shortages in advanced technology fields, infrastructure pressures, and environmental constraints in energy-intensive industries such as data centers. So in terms of deindustrialization, they've got 3 strategies. The first is the National Industrial Master Plan 2030, the National Semiconductor Strategy, and the National Energy Transition Roadmap. These aim to accelerate its shift into higher value manufacturing, renewable energy, electric vehicles, and the digital economy. It also has strong policy support for mature industrial clusters and robust FDI flows which make it one of ASEAN's most competitive investment destinations. So initially, it focused on export-oriented manufacturing in electrical and electronics, textiles and palm oil, and it's transitioned into electronics assembly and semiconductor packaging and testing. Its current trajectory is to move up the value chain into advanced semiconductors, power electronics, EV components, renewable energy, and digital economy. So I've mentioned the three policies. So this is just the areas that they're focusing on and where they are in Malaysia. So it includes the automotive and EV policy, the green techs and renewables, and the digital infrastructure data centers. Then they have economic corridors, which then have clustered industrial activity. And I've just listed where they are and what they focus on. What's also an area is medical devices and healthcare tourism, which I don't necessarily mention here. Then Malaysia has over 200 industrial estates or parks, 18 free industrial zones, and a number of stocks. The government offers quality infrastructure and a variety of tax incentives in its economic corridors and SEZs to attract investment. It has recently launched the Johor Singapore Special Economic Zone in partnership with Singapore, and they plan to scale up 50 projects within the next 5 years. So this was launched at the beginning of this year, and 100 projects of the next decade through investments in its 11 key sectors, including manufacturing, logistics, and energy. And this is just stats about that area that they are projecting. I again won't go through the proposed meetings. In terms of Singapore, Singapore was so manufacturing sector was a mainstay of Singapore's economic growth, despite its absence of natural resources or an agricultural base. By the mid-1970s, the country had undergone a rapid industrial advance based on low-cost labor, low to middle-level technology, and a rapid increase in exports. And then at the time, they set on a policy emphasizing high technology, particularly information technology. In the 1988, it had 3,694 manufacturing establishments employing over 350,000 workers, and were responsible for 29% of the GDP. So industrial production was valued at Singapore dollars, 14.5 billion dollars, and was fractionally higher than earnings from financial and business services, double those from commerce, and nearly equal to the total of commerce and transport and communications. So this represented a 20% increase over until 1987. So then they entered a nationhood with a mixed legacy. The industrial sector was small with low productivity. And so this has obviously substantively grown over this period of time. The industrial policy in 1959 sought to promote industrialization as a way of diversifying from Singapore's traditional role as an entrepot. Reliance was placed on private enterprises whose basic decisions were determined on the expectation of a common market with the neighboring Federation of Malaya. So then they had a system of import quotas for a limited number of goods, along with controls on how many enterprises could enter a particular field. I'm going to skip some of the history. Then the new approach became official policy in 1967 with the government's proclamation of the Export Expansion Incentives, the Relief from Income Tax Act, and was further enhanced by its 1968 Employment Act. So FDI was welcomed both to help Singapore penetrate export markets and to bring in advanced technology. As early as 1970, when full employment was attained, there was some thought given to upgrading the industrial structure to provide more higher paying jobs And by 1979, efforts to upgrade the overall industrial structure and to accelerate the trend toward skill and technology-intensive, higher value-added economic activity were intensified. So then the government implemented the large 3-year wage increases recommended by the National Wages Council, which began the easing out of labor-intensive, low-value-added activities in Singapore. The machinery industry was increasingly at the forefront of technological innovation as a result of the Economic Development Board's promotion of computer-controlled production, industrial robots, and flexible manufacturing systems. The industry's output increased by 17% in 1987 and 20% in 1988. So domestic enterprises played a lesser role in industrialization, and the emphasis on large industry was a more effective stimulus to increase productivity and long-range economic development. Major promotional efforts sponsored by the government were focused on high productivity projects, creating industries that officials claimed would not otherwise have been established in Singapore. Although institutional assistance for small-scale local industry, the majority of enterprises was provided through a subsidiary of the Economic Development Board, and the effectiveness of this aid was limited until after the mid-1980s recession, when greater emphasis was placed on encouraging and upgrading small-scale local industry. Following a decline in the textile industry in the mid-1980s, resulting from increased international competition, automation and the upgrading of product lines were encouraged. What had originally been a textile industry and then a mass market clothing industry was encouraged to target high fashion markets. A 10% growth in the fashion industry in 1987 reflected both a new trend and a strong market among Western trading partners. So one of the most significant industries was IT, and there was a single-minded emphasis among policymakers on escalating the level of technology to implement the succeeding phases of Singapore's industrial revolution. The Telecommunications Authority of Singapore was a key to the strategy because of the high caliber of its services and products, and because telecoms and the telecommunications industry played an important role in the progress of every industry in Singapore. A second key was computers and related electronics, which in the late 1980s constituted Singapore's largest industry. And by 1987, electronics accounted for 28% of manufacturing employment and it contributed 31% in output. So by 1989, Singapore had become the world's largest producer of disk drives and disk drive parts and other related products. The electronics industry moved away from labor-intensive products to technologically higher content and skilled worker products. Potential investors were encouraged to look elsewhere for low-wage and unskilled labor. And in 1981, the National Computer Board was formed to establish Singapore as an international center for computer services, to reduce the shortage of trained computer professionals and to assure standards of international caliber at all levels. So at the time, copyright and intellectual property were issues for Singapore. They obviously then upgraded this and implemented rigorous enforcement in areas where there was Western pressure. And there's now nearly full compliance in the book trade. And the Asian copyright revolution was significant as a realization by those countries they had joined the international knowledge network as producers as well as consumers. And then by mid-1980s, the small but growing printing and publishing industry had entered the high technology world with computerized typesetting, color separation, and bookbinding. Then in terms of special economic zones, one of the advantages that Singapore offers is its free trade zones, which were established in 1969 to support trading and transshipment activities. So since then, the objectives have expanded and they're now designed where the payment of duties and taxes is suspended when goods arrive or stored or sold within the zone. So they offer the following advantages. There's no import permits required, no customs permits, and no customs duties are applied on goods imported. And the 7% imported goods and services tax is suspended. Oopsie. So Singapore law considers certain categories of goods as dutiable. This means that they're subject to customs duty ad valorem or specific rates. There are 5 basic categories of dutiable goods: intoxicating liquors, tobacco products, motor vehicles, petroleum products, and biodiesel blends. However, if they're imported into an FTZ, they are considered under Singapore customs control and not subject. These advantages are applicable unless goods are consumed within the FTZ in Singapore or leave the FTZ and enter Singapore's customs territory. So there were 9 Singapore FTZs, namely airport logistics. I'm not going to list them. Oopsie. The main legislation is embodied in the Singapore Free Trade Zones Act, which came into effect in 1966 and was amended in 2014. And then it outlines the authorities in charge of verifying the activities of companies within the FTZs, the activities that may be undertaken in those areas, the types of licenses and permits required to manufacture and sell goods in the FTZs, and the penalties for non-compliance with regulations imposed by the free zone authorities. Additional ancillary FTZ legislation includes regulations covering matters of security, dutiable goods transferred between different zones and other factors, FTZ notifications, and FTZ manufacturer regulations. So to operate in these, you need a permit or license from one of the authorities. And then 2 basic types of permits or license are needed to operate in FTZs. The first is available to corporate users, and the second is issued to individuals or short temporary validity. Then companies using FTZ must have a paid up share capital of 100,000 Singapore dollars. And if they require a warehouse, and those require only office space, need a paid up share of 50,000 Singapore dollars. In terms of Vietnam, the first trade policy was the most important industrial policy for Vietnam. So it's also a member of WTO, ASEAN, and with the US, of 16 bilateral and including the World Trade Organization with ASEAN and the USA, Japan, South Korea, EU, and the Eurasian Customs Union. So it's one of 11 countries that is part of the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership. These trade agreements dramatically reduced tariffs, anchored challenging domestic reforms, and opened much of the economy to foreign investment. There's approximately 10,000 foreign companies operating there, mostly export-orientated, labor-intensive manufacturing. Vietnam has leveraged its demographic dividend through effective investment in its people, its efforts to promote access to primary education and to ensure its quality through minimum education standards have paid off. Then thirdly, its relentless focus on competitiveness and the ease of doing business has made steady progress in improving its investment climate, as evidenced by higher scores in the World Economic Forum's Competitive Index and the World Bank's Ease of Doing Business ranking. And then finally, Vietnam has invested in infrastructure, especially in the power sector and transport connectivity. Due to high public investment, power generation, transmission, and distribution capacity have been significantly scaled up to meet the rapidly rising demand. And to keep pace with our rapidly growing container trade, it has developed its transport and port infrastructure, including seaports and marine terminals. In terms of SEZ, it has approximately 18 coastal economic zones and about 325 state-supported industrial parks throughout the country to attract FDI. These areas were designed to offer a wide range of incentives to investors, including tax breaks on selected items, lower or exempt corporate income tax, and reduced rents and fees. Furthermore, the government has been considering new SEZ legislation to designate another 3 SEZs and allow for 99-year leases. And the intention of SEZs is to attract high-end manufacturers, new technologies, and modern management know-how. In terms of the green economy, the Vietnam Green Growth Strategy aims to accelerate the process of economic restructuring by using natural resources efficiently, reduce greenhouse gas emissions through research and the application of modern technologies, develop infrastructure to improve overall economic efficiency, cope with climate change, contribute to poverty reduction, and drive economic growth in a sustainable manner. Approved in September of 2012, the strategy is an effort to synthesize green action plans of major sectors and society to promote green production, reduce the intensity of greenhouse gas emissions, and to stimulate green lifestyles and promote sustainable consumption. In terms of FDI, it plays a key role in Vietnam's economic transformation and represents 20% of GDP and has generated about 5 million jobs in 2019. So the main driver behind the country's productivity improvement, there was more than 17,000 foreign investment projects, with total registered capital of $143.1 billion US, which were approved during the review period. Processing and manufacturing accounted for around 62% of this capital. Given its deep integration into the global economy, Vietnam, let's skip that. Then the proposed meetings, and then just in terms of the four countries, so Japan offers opportunities to examine electric vehicle production and green energy, given South Africa's focus on the electric vehicle white paper and on the green hydrogen commercialization strategy. Furthermore, Japan and South Africa have been developing a strategic partnership around these areas, particularly with regard to hydrogen technologies. Malaysia offers an opportunity to observe how to leverage regional development to grow strong and competitive industries, and particularly its electric vehicle and medical device manufacturing sectors would be of interest, given South Africa's EV white paper and the master plan focusing on medical devices. Singapore is significant in relation to SEZs, which is a focus area for South Africa. And Vietnam has a number of similarities to South Africa in terms of its natural endowments, export-oriented and labor-intensive manufacturing, focusing on industrial policy, and its use of FDI to grow the economy. Of interest is its focus on investment in primary education, competitiveness, and ease of doing business, resulting in steady progress in improving its investment climate, as well as its focus on investment in infrastructure development, especially in the power sector and transport logistics. And then Andre has spoken to the time frame, which the proposed dates is to leave on Friday, the 13th of March, and return on Saturday, the 28th of March, which should be a 2-week period if 2 countries are being visited. So over to the committee.
Chair, Mr. Chance raised his hand, Chair.
Are you done, Margot?
She's done, Chair. Mr. Chance raised his hand, Chair.
Yes. Member Chance, can I take the hand so that we can conclude and get ready for Parliament?
Thank you very much, Chair. And thank you to Margot and the Secretariat for an excellent summary. 2 weeks, I think, is definitely enough to visit 2 countries, and I would suggest, bearing in mind the geographic proximity of Singapore and Malaysia, capital of Malaysia, Kuala Lumpur, is only a 5-hour train ride from Singapore. that we do those two countries and Japan. And the reason I suggest Japan as well is because if you remember from the presentation we had yesterday from the department, there's a close relationship between the department and the Japanese Kaizen program, which focuses on quality and competitiveness. I would suggest, Chair, that we basically start with Japan and then fly to Singapore, take a train to Malaysia, to Kuala Lumpur, and then return via Kuala Lumpur. But obviously we work out the logistics. But it would be a pity not to do Vietnam as well. But I guess it's just a matter of trying to fit in too much in 2 weeks. That's my comments.
Is there another hand, Andre?
Chair, there is no other hand at the moment, Chair.
Thank you. There's a suggestion.
Mr. Tring, Chair, raise his hand now.
Honorable Tring.
Yeah, no, Chair. I think I also want to appreciate the presentation from Margot, very thorough and comprehensive, which certainly helps. Chair, I was looking at Vietnam certainly because of its similarities to South Africa, but I think that perhaps what we need to be looking at is I think practicality. So what Honourable Chancellor has recommended is practical and workable. I don't know though whether trying to squeeze 3 countries in is practical, because what you're wanting to do, so where we can get quantity in terms of 3 countries, well, what we're looking at is actually quality in terms of how it's going to be, what can we glean from those countries, which we can come back and impact and improve on in South Africa. So I would rather go with 2 rather than 3. And that possibly then would look at Japan, Singapore. Thank you, Chair.
No, thank you very much. So there's 2 suggestions on the table. Can we have more hands, members, so that we can conclude, please?
Can I just? Oh, sorry. I'll come
Ms. Arthur Webster, Chair.
Webster.
Ms. Webster, I just want to make sure that yes, Ms. Webster.
Yeah, I would propose maybe you allow Honourable Chance to come before me, because maybe he's changing his mind or proposing something different before I respond.
Okay, Member Chance.
Yeah, thanks. I take Honourable Thing's point, but if you look at the map, Singapore was part of Malaysia until 1965 or whatever it was. So they're geographically they're right next to each other. So the travel, it's almost like going to 2 countries, 3 countries, and make it 2. 2 is 3, so to speak. So I think it's logistically it's very easy to get from one to the other.
Chair, sorry if I may. Sorry, Honourable Webster. Chair, if I may. I think my concern there was the geographically you don't have a challenge. It is the number of meetings. So essentially you're going into a new country, even though geographically it may be not a far distance to travel. But you're going to a new country, there are different policies, there are, so the geography is not the issue. It is the amount of information that we are going to be able to consume in that time. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, Member Webster.
So I'm in support. I understand Honourable Chance's proposal, and the opportunity to maybe be able to get 3 countries because of the proximity. But my own response was going to be similar to what Mr. Tring is saying, and that is the reality that it is different countries, and there are different contexts which we'll have to familiarize ourselves with before we get there. When we get there. And that just adds to, in terms of information and the number of meetings, and you might then not have the quality of study or of taking in information that you would have had if perhaps you're very focused on 2 countries. So I would propose that it's 2, And I think that we do look between the three that Honourable Chance has proposed, but make it 2 of the 3 and not all 3. Thank you. I'll leave it there.
Okay. Any other contribution?
Chair, no other hands at the moment, Chair.
Okay. Maybe let's explore the this thing. Was we're having full 2 weeks. Full 2 weeks is if you can just look at the draft program, Andre, to say what are the things that we're going to be looking for, maybe going to different provinces and so on in that specific country, and then we.
If I might,
Yes.
Chair, Chair, what we need from the committee, Chair, is to identify either 1 or 2 countries, Chair, because what will happen when we leave this committee is we will then start engaging with DIRCO and DTIC, where they assist to facilitate such an engagement, and then we will be subject to that country being open to receive us. We also must be cognizant to the fact that there is a budget limitations to this, and we will be subject to the approval of the House Chairperson as well as the Speaker. Although we may have a desire to visit 3 countries, but the House Chairperson and Speaker may decide that it's too many countries. So just in terms of practicality, Chair, to limit it to 2 countries, Chair, and then we will start the process of engaging, and so that we can prepare a proper application for consideration by the House Chairperson and the Speaker when we do submit such an application, Chair. But budget is a challenge, Chair, that we must also be aware.
Yes, the meeting is agreeing with 2 countries. Maybe it's a question of identifying those. So we say it's Japan, Singapore, or Japan, or Singapore, Malaysia. What are we saying, colleagues? Because other colleagues are not contributing to the meeting.
Chair, just to clarify, Mr. Thrings, Mr. Chan said Singapore, Japan, Singapore, Malaysia, and Mr. Thrings said Japan, Singapore. So based on the 2, it would appear Japan, Singapore, but it's for the committee to make that decision. Mr. Mdluli raised his hand, Chair.
Mr. Mdluli?
Thank you very much, Chair. I guess that is clear. But in the event that 3 could be possible, then then we could possibly try and fit in. But I somewhat do agree with Mr. Thring that it might be a bit of a stretch. But if it's possible, then I think it'd be much appreciated. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. So it's Japan, Singapore, and then we will then have a draft program based on your consultation with everyone.
Could I just quickly chip in? Sorry, Chair, if I may.
Mr. Johnson.
Yes, Mr. Krantz.
I'm sorry to belabor the point, but so far as cost is concerned, if we're going to be away for 2 weeks, it doesn't really matter which countries we go to if the travel costs are not affected. And just bear in mind that the partition of Singapore from Malaysia in 1965 resulted in 2 very different development models for the 2 countries, and I think from our point of view, it would be very, very interesting to understand the development models that they pursued and what was the outcome of those 2 development models. Because obviously they both were state-driven models, not to say one was free market and the other one was state. They were both state-driven models, but they involved very different approaches. So I want to reiterate my point. 2 weeks is a long time. I mean, effectively, that's 6 days or 5 days in each country, virtually. I don't think that's too much for us to handle as a committee.
Okay, so I think the members will just explore, and then we'll see on the application in terms of that. And then do we have a formula for who goes? Is it all 11, or what is the Andrew, from your experience, or they will have to pick certain people, certain numbers?
Chair, what we normally do, Chair, we will. I think you committee's indicated, or you indicated that we want all 11 members to travel, and we can submit an application that it will be the 11 full-time members of the committee. Okay. The House chairperson can decide to either reduce it, and then the formula will be applied if that is, if the House chairperson so decide to reduce the numbers. Chair.
Yeah, our preference is that everyone must go, because when we do local visits, we go with everybody. So I think that should be the approach. Hello?
Yes, Chair, that will be, we will submit the names of all 11 members when we do submit an application, Chair.
No problem. No, I think we are fine. We can close the meeting.
So, Chair, we will then explore Japan and Singapore as the two countries, Chair. Just want to make sure that we don't, and alternatively look at the possibility of Malaysia, given the cost implication. But the two countries will be Japan and Singapore.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. The meeting is adjourned.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair. Bye, colleagues.
Thank you, Chair.